Hello and thanks for joining us. Today on Arts 24.
Carrie, why did you come back to save me?
It's like you said, love is forever. And besides, it was great sex.
But I'm so weird.
Oh, shut up and kiss me.
Satirical, sexy, and downright strange. His artwork's been described as Tex Avery meets Pulp Fiction. The Simpsons creator, Matt Groening, calls him simply the god of animation. Bill Plympton's been drawing the world as he sees it since childhood. Eventually, he made those visions into a series of award-winning moving pictures. And Bill joins us in the studio to tell us more today. Hi, Bill.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thanks.
France is my best audience because the U.S., nobody knows who I am, but in France, I walk down the street, Bill, how you doing, Bill? So I love coming here.
True love of cartoons and animated features in France, that's true. Now, you're in Paris as part of one of the many events that they dedicate to that art form. It's the Formula Bula Festival, doing some events, screening your latest film, a masterclass. There's an exhibition of your work called Cheap, Fast and Fun. Now, I think your work's definitely fun, but I wouldn't say that it's fast, would you?
I work very fast. I draw fast. The films are short. They go real quickly. And for me, it's important to make them quick because then it doesn't cost so much money.
Yeah, but you're drawing everything by hand. That must take a while.
I am. I brought some of the drawings. Here's some of the Simpsons drawings. And this will take maybe 5 minutes, something like that. So I can do a whole commercial or Simpsons spot in about 2 days.
Okay, and I know that the latest film, Slide, completely hand-drawn. Those pictures feature in this exhibition as well. And that analog approach to drawing, it wasn't so rare in the 1980s when it was starting. But today, of course, technology helps people animate much quicker. Why is it important to you to maintain that hand-drawn technique?
Well, that's how I started, was drawing by hand, and that's the kind of animation I loved as a kid, you know, the Disney stuff and the Tex Avery stuff. And for me, I want my drawings to feel like they're handmade, not like a machine made them, like a computer. I want the mistakes in there. It's like going to an art museum and seeing a painting and seeing all this crazy artwork. And for some reason, it's very attractive. It feels very warm. It feels very human. And that's the kind of feel I want in my animation.
Okay, well, as we mentioned, a highlight of the Formula Bula Festival is a screening of your latest feature-length film. It's called Slide. Let's take a look. So we can hear that amazing country and western soundtrack there.
That's why I'm wearing this outfit. I grew up with country music, you know, Hank Williams and Johnny Cash and people like that. I love that music.
Yeah, and the genre, it's so American. A western, of course, it's your unique take on a western. What made you want to dive into that?
Well, I've never done a western before. I've done a couple of cowboy shorts, but never a long film, a long metrage. And I thought it would be great to do a cowboy film using my humor, using my characterization, my drawings. And this is the star of the film. This is the woman who falls in love with Slide. And you see how distorted it is? It's really distorted. And I get in there with my pen and just kind of go crazy and see how weird I can make it. And then here's some of the dance hall girls. It takes place in a prostitution house. And so these are some of the prostitutes. And I love drawing women. It's really fun. Something about cowboys that's very maverick, very radical. And so there is some sex in here. It's not a Walt Disney film. I want to warn people. There's a lot of violence, a lot of bad guys. For me, I love drawing the bad guys. They're the most fun to draw, and there's probably more bad guys in this film than in any other film in Hollywood. I mean, there's probably about 200 bad guys, because I like the eye patch and the slash across the cheek, and there's no, you know, there's hair growing everywhere, and it's just fun to draw them.
Yeah, there's a whole universe of characters there. Yeah. Well, American society, its quirks, its characteristics, always loomed large in your work, even when the storyline is ostensibly about something else. So Bill's film, I Married a Strange Person, won the Grand Prix at the Annecy Animation Festival here in France in 1997, the first of many prizes for you there. It features a pair of newlyweds and takes some extraordinary twists and turns. Let's take a look.
Thanks, Mac.
And then it explodes.
Yep, bang, boom. So, but as I mentioned, there's a newly married couple at the center of this film. You'd expect a romance, desire, but there are some quite different themes that come in, much darker, more violent. Where did that come from?
Well, I dated a girl who I didn't realize at the time was bipolar. And once we moved in together, it all came out, and it was a very powerful emotion to be so close to a person who was very strange. And so I thought it'd be a nice idea to make a film about it. Although I never mentioned her in the film or anything like that. That was what inspired me to do it. And the whole sort of purpose of my films is to be surreal. I find a lot of humor in surrealism. So I thought if you're married to someone who is kind of nuts and crazy, that's a good topic for an animated film.
That's the characterization of one of the couple. But there's also perhaps nods to the military, to power, to violence.
Yeah. Well, you'll see that in Slide too. It's about a corrupt town in the West, in the far West, in Oregon, where I'm from, and they use guns to settle everything. And this guy, this mysterious musician who plays slide guitar, comes into town, and with his music, he's able to get rid of all the corruption and the violence and make it a happy place. So it certainly is a metaphor for what America's going through right now.
Well, speaking of America, in 2018, you made a video for the New York Times website called Trump and Putin, A Love Story. It was your take on the dynamic between the two leaders. Let's take a look.
Do you have a relationship with Vladimir Putin?
I do have a relationship with him, and I think he's done a very brilliant and amazing job. He's put himself, really, as, you know, a lot of people would say he's put himself at the forefront of the world as a leader. Russia is like, I mean, they're really hot stuff.
So a very interesting take on international relations there.
I got in a lot of trouble for that. A bunch of right-wing people started saying very bad things about me, death threats, things like that. And unfortunately, Trump says if he wins, he will get revenge on everybody who did bad things to him. So I'm at the top of his shit list for death. And so I hope he doesn't win.
Yeah. How do you feel looking ahead to this election?
I think that Trump will burn himself out. He's just so crazy. He's so anarchy that people will realize that he's a danger to humanity.
Okay. Now, I mentioned you received that very prestigious prize at Annecy Festival. You won it again for Mutant Aliens. Your first big prize here in France was for Push Comes to Shove, which won the award for Best Short at the Cannes Film Festival. That film has no dialogue whatsoever. Many of your films have very little dialogue.
Right.
So what are you working with visually when you're not working with words?
Well, you know, I'm a big fan of Jacques Tati. And his films had very little dialogue, and the humor was in the visuals. And for me, that's where I find the humor, is in the way people look and react, and surrealism comes in. I'm not a good word person, so I'm happy with just visual humor.
To say it with pictures. Now, you are in fact married to a French artist and illustrator, Sandrine Flamand. You spent a lot of time in France. What have you learned about the world of French comics, bande dessinée, as they call it here in animation?
Yeah. Well, I've always been into bande dessinée. I think it's really great. You have some wonderful artists here, and my wife is slowly teaching me French. I'm sorry I'm not so good at it, but that's really important, I think. And the whole French culture, the wine, the food, the fashion, the movies, the cartoons, I've influenced a lot by that.
Well, there's a real tradition and commitment to satirical and political sketching here, and we're going to wrap up the show with something in that vein, but thank you so much for joining us today. Well, we'll wrap up with the work of the late cartoonist and artist Georges Wolanski, who was murdered in the Charlie Hebdo attack almost 10 years ago. A new exhibition features dozens of his drawings, comic strips and political sketches. They were chosen by the curator and Wolanski's 3 daughters to highlight the artist's eye for detail and his cheeky sense of humour. We'll leave you with a look at those images. Otherwise, do check in with us next time here on Arts 24 and on our social media channels too.